I'd like to go over in this video using the draft face command. This is very important in things like injection molding, where you need draft in order to get the plastic out of the mold. And I made all the angles on this pretty much exclusively in the draft tool in the part design workbench. So let's go through how it works, and maybe I can step through how this was made after that. Let's go with the draft face tool. I'm going to create a new part, and let's make a sketch. Let's go to preferences. I have no style sheet on purpose. Sometimes the style sheet can be a little bit confusing if you're just learning the draft, because one of the buttons are hidden. But let's go to units. I'm actually going to change this to inch. Apply. OK. You see I've got my keyboard monitor down here so you can see my hotkeys that I use if you ever wonder what hotkey to use when. Let's go with a symmetric constraint. Let's add in a vertical dimension here. And instead of 7/8, let's do 8 inches. Let's add in a horizontal of 7 inches, just like that. So there's our sketch, and we can pad that up to something like 6, 7, 9. Let's go 9 inches tall. Right, big height. This will take forever to print. So how do we draft faces? First step is to open this draft tool. And if you have nothing highlighted, then it gives you warnings, select an edge, face, or body, right? So let's say I want to draft this edge. And it brings up this tool where I can specify my draft angle. Maybe I want this to be 10 degrees. That's a lot of draft, but hey, that works. You know, so I can reverse direction, but I don't want to draft it in that direction, right? I want to make it more of like a pyramid when I'm looking at my isometric view. So I have to specify what's called a neutral plane. And to do that, I click this button and click the face that I want to act as a neutral plane. And what that does is that says that the neutral plane, or the face that I choose, will not change in dimension. Now that I have a draft here, you can see that this face is changing dimension because this line becomes angled. If I reverse the direction, you can see the face is changing size. If we look at this face, and I reverse it, this face is changing size. And this face also changes size when I apply a draft. But this face doesn't change dimension, right? So that's the definition of a neutral plane. You have to specify a neutral plane, really, to be accurate in knowing what face you're drafting. From there, you can also specify a pole direction. As of the making of this video in April of 2020, the FreeCAD documentation states that you can get unpredictable results using pole direction. That's happened to me before. And I generally get everything that I want to out of specifying a neutral plane and an angle. So I don't really need a pole direction and don't use it. Okay, so now that I've specified a face and we understand the neutral plane, I can actually add a face, and notice it references off of the same neutral plane as I continue to add faces. So we're making it more of like a pyramid shape, right? I mean, when I made this, I was going for kind of an ancient-looking structure, maybe Mayan or something like that. And this does a pretty good job of it. So I'm going to take this back down to something like 5 degrees. And let's add in another feature, right? Let's change our draw style to a wireframe, and that way I can see more internally. Let's go to polyline, and let's make a really steep staircase. And actually, I can probably add in a vertical constraint here, horizontal here, and import an edge right there. Maybe a vertex is a better way of saying it. I'll add in a horizontal and 0.125 1/8 inch from there. Okay, yeah, that's about 3 millimeters. We'll make this line and this line horizontal. We'll make a more consistent staircase by selecting these 4 vertical lines and making them equal. I can select these horizontal lines and making them equal. I'll add a dimension here, something like 0.5 inches, maybe 3/4. That's pretty good there. And I've got a few more degrees of freedom. That's a big one. Add in a vertical dimension rather. 3/4 looks good to me. Make that coincident, and I bet we're going to overdefine our sketch with automatic relations. Yep. So we'll remove constraint number 31. And we're golden. Alright, so let's pocket that. We'll go close, pocket, through all. Right? And now I can change my draw style. We'll go as is. I'll add in a mirror to my pocket. And that gives me exactly what I want. I can also add a draft on this face. Oh, but I think I chose a chamfer there, so cancel that. Draft, 5 degrees. And we'll reverse direction. And also, I like to specify a neutral plane for stability anyways. We'll unreverse that, right? So there's our neutral plane. And OK. Alright, the next thing, maybe I'll add a different style of entrance since I've used up a lot of my area already. And also I really ought to make this taller, this opening staircase. So it's got a little bit more room to hide under there. Let's go with edit sketch of our pocket, and let's do something like 2 inches. Yeah, that's a little bit better. So let's change this up, and maybe I'll go with an entrance on this face. And you know what? I think it would be even better if I did a little shell. And that would be right here, or in other words, make a thick solid. And my thickness would be something like, oh, maybe 1/8 of an inch. So we've got a little error going on, and what's happening is I've just realized this is 1/8 of an inch, which is too thin. And so you can't shell out something 1/8 of an inch and expect it to work with a gap of 1/8 of an inch. So let's make this something like 0.375, right? A little bit more generous. And now let's shell out this bottom, 0.125. And there we have an appropriate shell. Next thing I can do is sketch on this face, and maybe we'll add in a nice corner rectangle. Import this outer edge, and we'll make that coincident. And we'll make that horizontal. 1 inch is great. 2 inches is good. 3 inches is superb. So let's pocket that. And 1/4 inch looks like a fine depth to pocket, right? So now, this is one possibility of how my snake would be able to hide. This is the one that I'm probably going to go with, that I spent more time on, but I don't want to waste your time in the video. So that's an example of how you can use draft in order to augment your design and save a lot of complexity from trying to get the draft in the first place. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.